It's that new 2.7 million barrels per day. We spoke earlier in the day, and you were optimistic that it's achievable. Well, but tell me, how do you think we can get it through?
Yeah, I think that there are a number of blocks we need to consider. First thing is that we were able to produce 2 million barrels of oil per day a couple of years ago. So we need to get back there, and that will be mostly a rejuvenation of onshore and recovering the areas that are either locked in or closed in. And then there will be development, and I would say also onshore and shallow water developments that have a faster gestation time that will come on to be able to make the 2.7 million barrels. I do think it's achievable, but it requires a lot of collaboration from the government to the industry to service providers to make it happen, and even other stakeholders like community and security agencies.
Tell me about the role that independents such as Energy will play in getting that achieved.
Yes. If you reflect on it, 5 years ago, the oil production from Nigeria was dominated by international oil companies. But with the activities of companies like ourselves buying assets from the international oil companies and the recently announced and completed major divestments, a large proportion of Nigeria's oil production is now in the hands of independents. We have no choice but to stand up to be counted and to work our portfolios to grow the production back to where it was and grow it on from there. All the indigenous companies are geared for this renaissance of the Nigerian oil and gas industry. And what we have done in Hess Energies is a poster, an emblematic example of what can happen. We took the asset at 27,000 barrels, and we have more than doubled oil and gas production. And I think what we have done, many other companies will and can and will do.
So let's chat a little bit more about those divestments by the IOCs taken up by the LOCs such as IS Energies. Do you think, is it early days to count our chicken yet? What exactly did you meet on the ground? How did you manage to turn things around? Yes. As soon as the IOCs leave and you step into those onshore assets, and you take them up areas where they couldn't produce oil for years?
Yes. So I think there's a number of ways to look at the problem. So in our own case, we have doubled production sustainably without drilling a new well. What we met was that a fraction of the wells were on production. And we have worked assiduously to recover a significant amount of wells. So we have today 3 times the amount of wells that are producing than we're producing when we got the asset. And these are all existing wells that with the governing structure of the international oil companies, they couldn't reach. Second area is around security. There had been a period where security had been a challenge. I mean, we all are Nigerians and we could see how it all unfolded. But with the significant steps taken by government over the past 2 years plus, we have seen a significant improvement in the security in the operating environment. The third key part is then the communities. With the PIA provision for the hydrocarbon, for the HCDT, for the Hydrocarbon Development Trust, that provides by law a portion of our operating budgets to the communities, that is providing a reset for community relationships and enabling a different relationship to come on board. And lastly, there are lots of incentives being put in place, like the presidential directive of last year, which will help provide the right atmosphere for that provide the right atmosphere for us to thrive and for other local companies and international companies still active in Nigeria to thrive.
Everything you've explained, how did they all come together under the Petroleum Industry Act? Some folks believe that, well, perhaps it's not biting as much as we would want to see.
Yes, so the Petroleum Industry Act is a very broad document that covers a very broad set of objectives and areas. It goes from acreage management all the way to the way the industry is structured, all the way to community interactions. I think there has been progress in many areas, very significant progress. It all has to come together. And in some areas, some companies demonstrate how it comes together. In my company, for example, with what we have, Hess Energy, what we have put in the market in terms of our production growth, our relationship with our government partners, our relationship with the communities, we have demonstrated that PIA works, and it will work for many other companies as we begin to transit into this era where it's indigenous companies in the front line to push Nigeria's growth.
Part of the conversation right now and the big story is the global energy transition, and in particular when it comes to for emerging and other frontier markets such as Nigeria, with renewable being placed side by side with fossil fuel. Or what's your take on Hess Energies on that? How do you play this in your portfolio?
Yes. So we have always taken the position, and we espoused this even in the years when the energy transition conversation was very dominant, that it is not a question of fossil fuels or renewables. It was a question of and. The energy challenge for Africa is so significant that we don't have a choice. It's a conversation of a combination. I mean, over 600 million sub-Saharan Africans don't have access to energy. Today, the numbers vary, but it is commonly said that anywhere between 40 to 60% of our energy needs are not met. So when you look at the significant challenge that presents, and if we set a timeline for a couple of years to provide energy for our people, to improve lives, to provide livelihoods, to fund our businesses, our schools, you see that fossil fuels alone cannot do it, and renewables alone cannot grow to replace fossil fuel and provide it. So it's a story of and. We need fossil fuels and renewables. And this is something that as countries, as businesses, we are all pushing to say we need to take the natural resource which we are blessed with and work it assiduously to potential. And we also need to capture the opportunities that new technologies like that is fueling renewables also brings to the table to provide the energy, to meet the energy demands of our people.
Mr. President is pushing both. He's pushed the petroleum industry bill, and he came into office very quickly, and he signed on the electricity bill as well. So it looks like this is pushing this across the two fronts. But within the Hess Holdings group, trying to find out, how do you play this, both sides, for this energy marriage that we need, wedlock that we need in Africa? Part of what's, of course, which was the main discussion at the just concluded African Heads of State Summit in Tanzania for African energy.
Yes. So at the Hess Holding Group, we are working an integrated energy strategy. And we are trying to play across the energy space, and we are trying to play across Africa. Our mission is to build an international, reputed, integrated energy business that makes significant contribution to Africa's energy requirements. In that light, you will know that Transcore has power plants, significant contribution to electricity generation. You will know of our position in AEDC, Abuja Electricity, that is in transmission, and of course ourselves, Hess Energy, in the upstream. And we're going to broaden this energy play to cover the major segments of the value chain, all the way to renewables. So I think when you look at it in terms of the energy play for Africa, with Africans and indigenous partners, players coming to fore, Hess Energies looks to be, wants to be, and will be one of the significant players that will emerge out of the transition that is going on from international oil companies driving our energy to indigenous companies driving our energy.
Where is gas in this, with the gas energy master plan?
Yes. So gas is pivotal. You know, in the days where people considered the energy transition as the key, gas was considered as a transition fuel. But we see that gas is a key component of the demand-supply equation for energy, globally and more importantly in Africa, because we have, to a large extent, the oil positions are more developed than the gas positions. And gas has the unique challenge that you need to have a supplier and market coupling for it to make it work. So I think there's a lot of development over the past few years. There's significant development for both export and for import. But as we grow and we say the conversation is about fulfilling the energy requirement for Africa, for Nigeria, all these molecules have to be counted. Oil, gas, and then from the non-fossil side of things, renewables.
Would that be your message to the SIPEC summit, in about a week from now, next week or so.
Yeah, so
I saw that you speaking there.
Yes.
What will you be speaking to?
Yeah, so what I'll be speaking to is trying to share with the audience, which will mostly is a conference
Sub-Saharan Africa,
of
yes.
Sub-Saharan African service providers,
Yes.
to say, for Africa, we need to grow our energy. The fossil fuel side of things, which we represent, needs to get back to its potential and then grow from that point. To make all of that happen, the service providers need to be on the table. They need to be enabled, they need to be funded, and they need to also have the right mindset that we are shifting from an era of where it was thought that the petroleum industry is in decline to an era where the petroleum industry's purpose and contribution is more than ever important, and that they need to be counted. I will be giving the example of what we've achieved with Hairs Energies over the past 4 years, using 95%, both in number and in content, indigenous players to achieve the phenomenal production growth which we have achieved. And that they should take that away as an example to almost ask themselves, in this renaissance that we need, in this requirement to grow Africa's energy supply,
yes,
what would be their contribution? And for them to start.
Let's leave it there for tonight.
Yes.
It will be interesting to see what the PowerPoints will be.
Yes.
You look enthused.
I am, always. When you talk about Africa's production growth, count me in.
I'm enthused about Africa as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you
It's
very
good to
much.
have you tonight. As
Always
well.
good talking to you.
Thank you.
Both.
Wish you and your team all the best.